with an ego, okay? Because whenever you date a woman who has an ego, especially if she has a bigger ego than yours, you're going to come home to a lifetime of nagging, complaining, poison dripping, right? Your life is just going to be miserable. Because a woman who has an ego is unable to be feminine, okay? Women who have egos, like ego and femininity do not go together, right? They're just too opposite. Why? Because ego is generally a male trait, okay? Ego is a male trait. Ego comes from testosterone, really, right? And so if the chick has an ego, she generally is more testosterone driven than estrogen driven, okay? The only thing good that comes from a female having an ego is she will be a little bit more logical, okay? She'll be a little bit more logical, a little bit more reasonable, almost like a dude. However, because she still has a large amount of estrogen pumping through her system, she is going to couple that with bursts of emotion, right? So she will have emotional outbursts as she is trying to feed you logic and trying to be reasonable, and it's just going to drive you nuts, okay? It's just going to drive you nuts. Sometimes she might come at you with some facts, right? Might come at you with some statistics, and then she will back that with emotion, temper tantrums even, yelling, crying, right? Crying to try to get you to comply, to try to get you to agree with her, to try to get you to follow her lead, right? So understand, a woman with ego is never going to work out as far as a long-term dating partner goes. Now, if she's just somebody you're casually dating or somebody you're just hooking up with, completely different story, because I've approached a lot of girls in field who have had ego, right? A lot of times these girls tend to have lots of degrees. So a lot of these girls tend to have like a master's degree, even a doctorate degree. I'm not saying all, I'm just saying most, right? Like watch some chick with a doctorate degree jump in the comments, be like, hey, I'm not that way, you son of a bitch, da, da, da. It's like, hey, I'm not saying all, I'm just saying most. A lot of these girls who have like very big egos tend to have lots of degrees, right? They just have lots of degrees. And think about a girl with an ego is she just can't shut up. You'll notice this with the girls that you've dated in the past who had an ego. You notice that chick could just like talk your ear off. She just can't shut up, right? It's like sometimes you just want to tell a girl like, hey, shut up. Just shut up, right? And I've dated girls like that just had lots of degrees. Again, they were very like at least scholastically smart, right? They had lots of degrees, went very far in school, got good grades, and they have ego. And for these girls, it's just like, dude, shut up. Once in a while, you just gotta shut up, right? Because it's like they can just talk and talk and talk. And a lot of times they just go on and on about nonsense, right? It's just like, just shut up, right? So you'll notice this about girls that you've dated in the past who have a lot of ego, is they just talk and talk, especially if you ever get into an argument with them. Oh my God, God forbid, this chick will go on and on and on in your ear for hours and hours, right? And even after the argument's over, maybe a few hours later, it will bother her, and then she'll call you up, or she'll bring it up at dinner when you're just trying to have peace, or maybe you go on a vacation together, then she brings this shit up from 6 months ago. So the thing about girls with ego is they also hold grudges, right? These chicks hold grudges because they are lacking femininity and they are adopting basically the male trait of having an ego. They will hold grudges, and even guys don't hold grudges these long. That's a female thing, right? So if you're a guy, by the way, and you hold grudges against people for that are, you know, like months or years down the line, you're kind of trapped in your feminine energy there, right? You're kind of trapped in your feminine energy. Comes to a point where you need to forgive, okay? You need to forgive. And even I struggle with this, okay? Admittedly, I struggle with this from time to time with like people in my past that, you know, brought havoc into my life or have just done me wrong, right? Or tried to take advantage of me. You know, there's a certain part of me that still holds a grudge. So You know, I'm throwing myself into the fire on this one. But when it comes to women doing this, I mean, she can literally just like bring things up from months earlier, because femininity, guys, understand, femininity does not have ego, okay? Femininity is submissiveness. If you think back on the girls that you've dated who've been the most feminine, you'll also notice that those girls were the most submissive as well. You'll notice that those girls lacked that ego that I'm talking about. Like, even if you're in an argument and maybe you knew you were wrong and she even knew you were wrong, it's not like she sat there and gave you the bullet points on all the reasons why you were wrong and proceeded to poison drip you for the next few weeks. Instead, she was like, okay, babe, let's just hug, let's make up, let's just have a great time this weekend together, right? She just wants peace, because that's what femininity is. Femininity wants peace. It doesn't want war, right? Who wants war? We do as guys, right? It's built into us. We want war. We want fights. We want violence, you know? Whereas with females, they don't want that. When they're in their feminine energy, they just want peace. And they want to be able to submit to you. Whereas a woman who has ego doesn't want any of that. She's willing to combat you and debate you on every single thing. And it's like, I can't stand that. And I've dated a girl like that who just, she had that type of ego. It's like every little thing this girl debated me on. I mean, we never agreed on anything, really. It's sad because I liked her. We spent time together. We got along otherwise. But every time there was something that we conflicted on, it turned into a full-on debate, and it was exhausting. And I'm like, hey, I've got a business to run. I've got a life to lead. I've got, you know, limited time on this floating rock called Earth. I don't want to spend my life debating you, okay? I want to do other things. These days, with the amount of comments we have, like whenever we get repeat haters, right? Or we get a hater who all they do is just drop hate comments on our videos, we just block them, right? We just don't have time. You'll have many YouTubers, even YouTubers with only 10,000 subscribers, which is a lot, right? 10,000 subscribers. They just block people who are going to hate, right? Because we just don't have time. And a lot of the haters be like, oh, you're not, oh, it's so pussy, you're not strong enough to deal with our criticism. And it's like, no, dude, we just don't have time for your ass, right? Go play grab ass on somebody else's channel. We have a business to run here. We have better things to do than moderate your hate comments every single video. It's like, no, dude, we have other things to do, right? We're not going to let you come in here and poison our fish, right? Because it's almost like a classroom where you have a bunch of students. They come to school to learn, right? They take the time and energy to get ready to come to the classroom, to whip out their textbooks and learn, and then you get that one class clown who comes in and just disrupts everybody. It's like, yeah, it's funny for the first like hour, and then after that it gets annoying, it gets tiresome, your shtick gets old, right? So people like that, we just block them because we're like, we don't have time for it, you know? And especially in my dating relationships, it's like, dude, I don't have time to debate you on every little thing. And, you know, it comes to the point where if we just have too much conflict, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I've always coached guys when it comes to relationships, the more conflict you have in your relationship, right? The more you guys are butting heads, the more conflict you have, the more likely it is that you chose the wrong partner. Okay? So the more conflict you have, the more likely it is you chose the wrong partner. And I abide by that in my own dating relationships, which is why I cut that chick off. I cut her off. I'm like, hey, you still want to be friends and just not hang out together as much? I'm like, we could do that, but I don't want to date you and spend like that amount of time with you or invest that amount of time with you when all we do is debate. I'd rather just whip on a YouTube live stream and bring on a feminist or bring on somebody who doesn't agree with me and debate them live. And at least all my followers will gain value from it, just rather than me and you debating in a car by ourselves or whatever. It comes to a point where it's just not worth it anymore. And, you know, again, sure enough, this chick had a lot of degrees, very smart scholastically, but I just couldn't deal with, you know, just the constant headbutting. I mean, this chick almost never just submitted and just was like, oh, you know what, let's just enjoy our weekend. Let's just kiss and make up. Let's just, you know, hold my hand. No, it was always just like, we're just like warring like with words, like back and forth. It was just a constant debate. Whatever the topic was, it was like a constant debate, whether it was like food we were talking about, fitness, health, money. It's like constant debate. You have to understand, when it comes to girls with ego, that's what you're in for. You're in for constant debates. You're in for constantly defending yourself. You're in for constantly just never really feeling at peace. And that's not why you get into a relationship. You wouldn't even want to have a friend like that, right? I don't even allow like guy friends like that into my life anymore. I mean, there's a point where you're young, you know, you're in your teens, or maybe you're in college and you need to explore other people's points of views. And believe me, I've gone through that. I grew up in the most liberal city in the country, right? Which is San Francisco, and went to the most liberal college in the country, right? I've seen everybody's viewpoint, and it's like at this point, I know what my beliefs are, I know what my values are, I know the direction I'm headed in life, and you know what? I know who I want to bring into my life. So when it comes down to it, guys, when you date a woman with ego, you're always going to have issues, just because you as a man are wired with ego too, right? It's almost like having two alpha males being friends with another alpha male. You'll find that it's very difficult to be friends with another guy who is just as okay. It's always better to have that yin and yang, you know, especially like for guys that I've coached who are trying to connect with wingmen. If you're an alpha male, you don't want to get with another alpha male, right? Because you're going to butt heads. It's better to find a beta male that you can wing with. Just like if you're a beta male, it's better to find an alpha male rather than finding another beta. You know, if you find another beta male, you might not butt heads because you want to avoid that conflict with each other, but you're also never going to get anything done, right? Because neither of you are going to push yourselves enough to get anything done, right? So you need an alpha in that scenario. Just looking back on my own, you know, my own wingmen that I've had in my life, the most success that I've had was when I've gamed and winged with other guys who were just a little bit more beta, right? Where there was like that yin and yang. Whereas when I gamed with guys, like some of the top pickup artists in the world, where we're like just all alpha, like we're all seriously alpha, you would think that we're just going to conquer the world, but really we were fighting with each other. We were just stepping on each other for the targets, pushing each other out of the way. I didn't do that stuff, some of my other buddies did, but these guys were just super alpha. And it got to the point where it's like, dude, I cannot wing with you. It's like we go after the same exact top women. We're going after the hottest women in the venue together. It's like a constant competition with each other versus our actual goals, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, guys, not to get too far off topic, you don't want to date a woman with a large ego, right? You don't want to date a woman with large ego unless you want to play the role of the bitch in the relationship, right? And you'll see that play out in society. You'll see a lot of guys who are very weak, who are very blue pill, who like to be dominated by females, will purposely go out there and choose an alpha female who can take care of him, who will tell him what to do, who will rule over him, who will basically, like with the whip, like crack the whip on his ass anytime he steps out of line, right? And I see that with a lot of these late night talk show hosts. These guys are all blue pill simps, right? I don't see a single one of these late night talk show hosts that I can literally say like, yep, he's alpha. Yep, he's probably with, you know, a very feminine, gorgeous, stunning woman. No, I'm like, I bet that guy is dating a ball-breaking, feminist type, ego-driven type alpha female. And you know what? Generally they are. They are. Or if not, if they're not married to one, that is the type of women that they tend to go for. Those are the type of women that they kowtow to because they are so weak, right? So in that case, if you're looking for, you know, if you do desire a woman who is like strong and empowered with a big ego and lots of degrees, it's probably because you're a weak man and you need that type of person in your life, right? Contrary to popular belief, it's like the Matrix wants to shame you as a man, like, oh, you can't deal with a strong woman. You can't deal with a woman with a with a career and an ego and degrees. And it's like, no, I don't want to deal with a woman like that because I value my time. I value my energy. I value my limited time on this floating rock called Earth, right? I'm not going to spend my time like warring with some alpha female who is, you know, too insecure to act like a woman. I don't look at those females as strong women. I just look at them as women that need to compete with men. I look at them as women with more testosterone than estrogen. You know, and if they want to compete with men, fine, go do that. But you know what? That is not my definition of a strong woman, especially these days, because everybody's jumping on that bandwagon, right? It's like, oh, you got to empower these girls with careers that are going to school, that are alpha. It's like, do that. I'm not going to do that. That's just not part of my values. It's not part of my beliefs. It's not because I'm not strong enough to deal with a woman like that. No, it's because I am strong enough to value my time and to put myself first, to the point where I know that I don't want to spend my life with a chick who's going to be yapping in my ear for the next 70 years, right? Telling me about like how empowered she is and how strong she is, and you know, her promotion she's getting at her job. I don't want to hear all that. I just, you know, it's not how I want to spend my time. But for a guy who's weak and who's beta and who's blue pill and who was likely raised by a single mother and became a late night talk show host or something like that, sure, these are the type of women they love, right? They love that because it relieves them of their own responsibility of being a man. So when you're with a chick who has more ego than you, who's this alpha female, when you're with a chick like that, it kind of resolves you of your responsibilities as a man. And this is why these girls always hook up with guys who tend to be blue pill, little bitches. They will go to the pussy march with you and wear the pink hat and embarrass themselves to empower you. You know, it's not because they're strong men. It's because they are weak men. It's because they don't know who they are. It's because they've abandoned their own masculine frame to adopt the feminine frame. Why? Because again, these guys were raised by the feminine themselves. They were raised by a single mother or by the mainstream, to where they've adopted feminine behavioral traits. They've adopted the feminine psyche, and they've abandoned their own masculine psyche, their own masculine frame. And this is why they need a chick with more ego with them, because they can't take care of themselves. They can't be with a feminine, like a truly feminine woman, a truly feminine, traditional, you know, submissive woman. They wouldn't know what to do with a chick like that, because that would kind of put the responsibility on them to act like a man. If they're with a woman who wanted to be a woman, it would put the responsibility on them to act as a man. But instead, because they're weak, they need to act like the bitch in the relationship. They need to be with a female partner who acts like the man, who wears the pants in the relationship. And that's not the type of relationship that I want. It's not the type of relationship that you likely want, right? Okay, so beware dating women with ego. And like I said, these chicks generally will come with lots of degrees too. Hate to say it. Lots of degrees, very career driven, right? They want to go far in their career. More power to you if that's what you want to do, right? But I also have the option as a man to choose to not be with you if I don't want to. That's not what I'm looking for, just because I've dated girls like that, okay? So it's not like I'm talking out of my ass. I've actually dated girls like that who've had lots of degrees, who are on their career path, right? I just dated an engineer from Google. She was far up in that company, and it was the same thing, right? A lot of ego, a lot of like conflict, a lot of debating, a lot of mental and physical exhaustion, just trying to operate in that relationship, and a lot of, you know, the chick in your ear just yapping away. And, you know, if that's how you want to spend your life, go do that, right? Go do that. That's all I'm going to say for today's coaching video. Until next time, this is M from the 33 Secrets. Do not forget to smash that like button below. Also, hit that notification bell right next to it so that you're notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on the YouTube. Okay, more importantly, guys, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. When you're subscribed, you get all of my uploads fresh as I upload them, so you won't have to search YouTube for them. And sometimes YouTube even removes a fresh upload that I just did. And for you guys who are subscribed, you're able to watch it before it gets taken down. But guys who are not subscribed, they don't get it, and then you start messaging me like, hey, where's the video? How can I get it? I'm like, it's gone, right? It's gone. YouTube took it. So this is why you want to make sure you're subscribed. So please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. And for all you guys who want to support my work and all of this red pill, gold pill, and platinum pill content that I'm teaching you even further, the best way to support me is by jumping into my monthly online coaching program, 7 Months to Mastery, where I am teaching guys just like you, just like you, how to go out there and approach and close the youngest, hottest, and most beautiful looking women on the planet. I am talking about 8s, 9s, and 10s, the same exact type of women that myself and all of my coaching students who are in my program, 7 Months of Mastery, are approaching and closing every single week all over the world. And I kid you not, we are doing this all over the world, no matter what virus is going on in the world, no matter what type of racial havoc is going on in the world, protests, riots, any crazy shit that's going on, we are still out there crushing it and making things happen. Okay, so if you want to get into 7 Months to Mastery, this is the absolute best way to support my work. And right now it's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons, just $1. And all you need to do to get signed up is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds. So do that now, and I will see you in my next coaching video.